So good morning, everybody. We have Dr. Angela Lawrence here today, and as promised, we'll be doing a deep dive on engaging your emotions. Dr. Angela Lawrence is a licensed clinical psychologist. She obtains nearly 20 years of experience working in preschools, preventative services, foster care, hospitals, nursing homes, and central school districts. Dr. Angela has years of experience serving school-age kids on the spectrum and their families. Today, she will give us clinical insight on raising children with autism spectrum disorders. Good morning, Dr. Angela. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having me, Amari.
I'm so
Glad to be
glad
here.
that you are here. It's so nice to see you, and you have so much value to share with us. So, why don't we get right into the questions?
Okay.
So, in your experience, how does the belief that their child has a disability affect special needs parents and impact their parenting?
Yeah. This is such a difficult topic. It's a very much sensitive topic because raising a special needs child comes with so many unique sets of struggles. And each parent is definitely impacted in many different ways because, every disability manifests in different ways. So, for some kids, they need minimal support for a short period of time. And then you have some more complex cases where they require a different degree of support that's more intense and that require more of long-term services, and some making a decision later on whether or not they can care for their child. So it comes with many different emotions and valid emotions for them to feel dealing with a child with special needs. You
Mhm.
have to go through those emotions, believing your child is going to be typical, right? And then, coming out and seeing that your child is having a different ability or a disability that has not been aligned with your belief.
Mhm.
There's this poem called Welcome to Holland. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, Amari,
No, no, I
by
haven't.
Emily Kingsley. Yeah, it's a great reference in how she described her experience of raising a child with additional needs and special needs, where it talks about, you go thinking that you're going on this flight to Italy, you prep for this flight for Italy, and you do the research on it. You may even learn like the language and the culture. And then you get on that plane and you learn that you're going to Holland. The captain says, hey, we're going to Holland instead of going to Italy. How does that change your mindset at that point? You ended up thinking that here you're going to Italy, this beautiful place, and then you're told you're going to Holland that you know nothing about. Then you go to Holland and then you realize like, okay, it may be different. It's not what you expected, but it's different. It's not a place that is not enticing or beautiful. It's just that now you have to accommodate to a different way of looking at it, right? Because
Right.
you build up your expectation to it. And in the end, it's just like feeling like, the message was that if you spend all your time thinking about your fact that you have never gone to Italy, you never get to think about all the special things that Holland has to offer, right? So
Yeah.
a parent is really trying to adapt to that change and adapt to their belief systems of like, what was it going to be like of having a typical child to now, feeling how do I cope with a child with a disability, and through like support and understanding their feelings, a parent can help minimize some of that frustration and better respond to their child. But it requires a lot of introspection,
Yeah.
really self-reflecting and going through your the process, the 5 stages, right? Like of grief,
Yeah.
and identifying all of your emotions of how you're feeling once you get that first diagnosis or classification. But knowing that, and knowing really that, the child is not, knowing that they are changing their child, not changing their child, but the child is changing them, that they now have to kind of adapt and learn, what's going to work for their kids. And you can do that. You can. It's hard. It's not something that's easy. It's like any relationship that, that you have to learn each other. And it's definitely a process that you're going to go through. But it is definitely something that, it's shown that parents who learn how to deal with their kids, and studies have shown where it's, if you have a positive attitude and more awareness about the child's disability, and shifting your cognitions and beliefs and thoughts, it fosters the child's development even more. And it's just best to focus on their child's abilities rather than their disabilities, right? And through that, it increases self-esteem, the overall well-being, not just for the child, but for the parent as well, which helps improve the symptoms of depression and anxiety. You just have to be going in there with more flexibility,
Yeah.
and not thinking that the standard way, right? Like the Holland's Welcome to Holland poem. It's like you're going there thinking in one way, and then you come out having to kind of look at it in a different way, in a different lens. And it's all about just kind of having an innovative approach. You're relearning, and we can do that.
Yeah. That is amazing. And that's such a wonderful analogy, the trip. Believing you're going one destination, but really going to another. And so
Correct.
your advice to parents is that get the support you need to help shift your mindset,
Right.
modify your expectations, and embrace seeing things a different way.
Correct. Yep.
I think that's great.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
an excellent way to look at it. And it does work.
yeah, yeah. I think that's wonderful and very helpful for a lot of people watching. My next question is, what steps can special needs mothers take to prioritize their needs and create a balanced life?
Oh, that's a question that I think every parent
Yeah.
would like to know. Amari, as a parent, myself, it's hard. It's definitely a struggle, and even more so a struggle for a special needs parent, right? I mean, that's the reality. Studies have revealed that 17 million family caregivers of their children with a disability are more likely to have chronic stress and
Mm,
physical, health problems than those that do not have a child with a disability, or non-caring givers, right? That we tend, just in general, as moms, we put everyone first before our own needs.
mm,
But these, particular parents end up having a low priority when it comes to that, right? They don't take care of their own health or own well-being, and that only leads to them, at this point, becoming depressed and anxious. So it's really at this point seeking a network, a social network,
mhm,
right? As they say, with the airplane, right? You go on the airplane, and the flight attendant at that point is telling you the safety measures, right? And those safety measures are, listen, if God forbid we have to, land, let's think about the oxygen mask, right? And
right.
so they tell you, put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you then put it on your child. Right. And that's the key concept. You also have to, take care of yourself first,
Right.
before you can really take care of, your child. And I mean, even if it's 15 minutes of just drinking your coffee,
Mhm,
um, 15 minutes, exercising, taking that 15-minute shower. If you have to wake up that 5, 10, 15 minutes earlier to do so, do so.
yeah.
Um, being aware that a strong support system is really key as well. You know, as they say, it takes a village, right? And you have to find that village. And I know some people, just parents, single parents, and not just parents of children with disabilities feel sometimes alone, but there's so many community-based programs that are free. Whether it's free that, it's sponsored by a nonprofit organization, or it's covered through insurances, or even through OPWDD, depending on where you live. I don't know what it's called, but Office of People with Developmental Disabilities. There are so many programs. I remember this one lady said that she went to a park, right? And people were looking and judging her special needs kids. And she felt embarrassed and she felt hurt for him. And so what she did is that she started her own program. One day she said, I'm going to start my own program where, my kid can go in and be himself.
Mm-hmm.
And so she did, right? So she founded this program in Brooklyn where special needs kids can go and just have fun. And there are other programs. You just have to find that within, your community. And there's so many places where you can get that information from, right? You have social media, you have Facebook. A lot of our parents have learned even things from TikTok, where you can kind of gather all this, informations. And, it does take time because, you have to build up a trust. And, but with that trust, and once you find it, you can see that you're not alone in this moment, in this experience, that you can exchange information of things that and techniques that have been supportive for your kids, and suggestions that they can give you to help you help support your kid even better. And also with these programs, some of them have what's called respite, where you can take a break, where they also teach the child with the disability how to function within the community, right? Because that's ultimately what we want. We want as parents, we become overprotective, and even more so with a child with a disability, because they don't have, the resources to advocate or be independent for some of these kids, right? They're, it's a spectrum, right? So some, are a little bit more independent and some aren't. But, respite is very important. You need a break, and it's okay to get that break, and not feel guilty about having that break. And that's how you're going to find that balance.
Yeah.
That's key, to raising a child with a disability.
Right. Wow. That is wonderful. And I think so helpful to anybody who's watching this. Really, you're telling moms to break through the isolation, right? And search out the support that they need
Correct.
to help them on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And so many programs are available across all 50 states and in all neighborhoods, right?
Yes, they are. Yep,
Yeah.
they are. Yeah.
I think it's wonderful. I have one more question, Dr. Angela,
Sure.
which is, how do special needs parents successfully engage their emotions and grow in acceptance of their child's diagnosis? One thing I believe you said was they have to feel their emotions, they have to go through it. So
You
what are your
have to. Yeah.
recommendations?
You do. You have to go through those motions, and it's the stages of grief, right? You're going through those stages. There's no linear process, right? In life, in general, it's just an evolving process. There's going to be good days, more days that are going to be better than the other day, but it's really just acceptance and the balance between what is rational and being ultimately optimistic at the same time. Relying on professionals and your support system to help you through this process. But it's also taking that time, that's necessary to process it. And that should be understood, right? Like anytime that you're hit with some type of news, like a loss or a strong emotion or trauma that you're experiencing, you need that time to process it.
Mhm.
will take that time to process it. But
Yeah.
at the same time, get that support system. Know that, it's as, Emily Kingsley said in her poem, Welcome to Holland. When you focus so much on, what would have been like how it would be to have a child with a special, who's typical and not with a special, learning style,
Yeah.
because that's what it is, right? It's a special learning style. Focus on, the abilities, focus
Yes.
on rather than the disability is so key, because you're going through that mourning process, and you should go through that mourning process. But understand that once you're going through it, there has to be a point where now you have to think rationally and say to yourself that if I keep focusing on the fact that I have this child with a disability, rather than focusing on all the promises that this child has to offer, all
Mhm.
of these abilities, even for someone who is nonverbal and then is able to say a word, focus on that strengths.
Right.
Um, and through that, you can see the beauty of that child,
Yeah.
is key, right? So it's
Right.
definitely just, going through your emotions, and definitely accepting that diagnosis.
Right. Oh, absolutely. 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 I agree with you. I think that that's such good advice to really honor our emotions, acknowledge them, and take the time to feel them and to go
Yeah,
through it. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
This has been amazing, Dr. Angela. You are just a wealth of knowledge and insight and experience and understanding.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much. And hopefully we could do this again soon and we can expand our reach and help a lot of mothers.
Sounds great. Thank
Thank you.
you. Have a great
Bye-bye.
day. Bye.